So, hello guys. So, I hope okay pa kayo, 'di ba? So, laban, laban. So, for today's topic, we're going to talk about the histopathology laboratory. So, ano nga bang mga meron, 'di ba, sa histopath lab, 'di ba? So, this topic is a culmination or parang tawag yan, lahat-lahat na ng topic natin na natackle so far, 'di ba? So, sa histopath lab, guys, 'di ba, one thing or isa sa pinaka-importante that we need to be familiar with is the instrumentation. Okay, so instrumentation, ipapakita ko sa inyo yung mga different materials, machines, no? Again, as a review, para na may general idea kung ano nga ba ang naa sa laboratory or what's inside the histopath lab. Okay, so inside the laboratory, ito yung mga gamit. On the right side, we have yung mga materials. And then, dito naman is yung mga procedures that we do. Okay, so, I think na-memorize ko na to sa inyo, di ba? We start with receiving, followed by cross-examination, fixation, decalcification if needed, followed by dehydration, clearing, infiltration, yung other name niya, impregnation. We also have embedding, other name niya, casting, or molding, as well as blocking, diba? So we also have trimming, and then sectioning or microtomy, staining, mounting, and labeling. Okay, so labeling is always the last part, guys, no? Even though we label in the first part as we receive the specimen, we also label in the last part, guys, diba? Kasi minsan, pabonggahan na ng slide kung ano yung pinakamagandang slide sa histopath, kasi the better the label, mas madali siyang matago, mas madali siyang ma-keep safe, 'di ba? Mas madali ma-identify kung kaninong specimen ba talaga 'yun. Okay? So, itong color nila, guys, nag-match siya sa corresponding materials na meron. Okay, so for the receiving, we have diamond pen, pencils, and syempre pen. Cross-examination, meron tayong ito. No? I think familiar naman ata kayo sa lahat nito. And then we have fixation, 'di ba? For fixation, the machines that we use are called, kung hindi siya manual, no? Kung nagamit tayo ng automated machine, ang tawag diyan is automated tissue processor, or pwede rin tinatawag na autotechnicon, no? Pwede rin tinatawag na yung anong klaseng type siya ng processor. We have the Elliott bench type processor, no? FDCI stands for fixation, dehydration, clearing, and infiltration. So, ibig sabihin itong Elliott bench type or yung automated tissue processor, ang makaya niyang gawin is from fixation hanggang infiltration. Isipin mo yun, wala ka nang problemahin, hindi mo na siya ita-transfer ng di ba? You don't have to do it manually kasi yung machine na mag-transfer para sa iyo. Okay? For the embedding, ito yung mga machines na ginagamit. We have paraffin dispenser, embedding center, embedding molds, diba, yung materials. And we also have refrigerator. Kung walang refrigerator, we could use cold plate. Pero kung wala talaga, guys, kay ice na lang, no? Yung sa ice talaga, doon ipatong yung inyong mold. Okay? So, for the trimming and sectioning, we have yung microtome, obviously, no? And then flotation bath para mas madali yung pag fish out. Then slide dryers to dry the slides. Okay, for the staining, mounting, and labeling, ito yung mga ginagamit natin, 'di ba? We have yung stainers, 'di ba? It can be coupling jars kung mahirap talaga yung lab, or kung medyo bongga, we have the automated stainers, 'di ba? As well as yung microscope, 'di ba? After staining, kay pabasa na si kay pathologist. Okay? So, let's do this, 'di ba? Ito yung mga example ng diamond pen, followed by the grossing area, followed by yung mga materials, 'di ba? Familiar? We have the chopping board, ruler, 'di ba? Minsan, guys, pag buto-buto yung specimen, we use yung lagari or the saw. We also have weighing scales, 'di ba? Tapos ito yung guys, automated tissue processor, no? This type is a Elliott bench type. Okay? So, tinatawag nito siyang autotechnicon, guys. Okay? So, ito yung ating embedding center. Di ba? Purely embedding center lang siya. And then, partnered by embedding molds natin. So, ito yung metallic embedding mold. We have Lockhart's embedding mold, plastic embedding molds, and then yung paper boat. Di ba? Tapos, we have refrigerators as well. Kasi kung walang refrigerator, tapos available ang cold plate ang ginagamit, guys, no? Pag wala pa rin talaga yung cold plate, walang ref, ice na lang. And then, we also have yung microtome natin. This type of microtome is a rotary microtome. We have yung ating water bath. We have yung slide warmers natin or slide dryers. Then we have yung mga coupling jars with the stains, diba? Eucine in particular. And then yung automated na stainers, diba? And then the microscope. So obviously, ito ang parang talaga ng medtech, no? Kasi pag once na nagpining na kayo, meron talagang daladalang microscope sa pining ceremony. Okay? So inside the lab, gross examination, diba? Dito yung time kung saan we create a gross description. So it varies from tao to tao, no? From histotech to different pathologists. Iba-iba sila mag-gross exam, no? Iba-iba yung parang lyrics nila. So in the gross examination, ng gross description should contain the type of specimen, the color, the size, the weight, if kaya, consistency, and the texture, diba? So, minsan, gina-measure talaga rin yan, guys, no? Measurement should be included in this. Okay? So, ito yung ginagamit na mga materials, diba? Grossing area niya. Ganda naman ng grossing area natin, no? So, minsan, kami sa laboratory, we have our own grossing area talaga with the hood as well as may sink talaga yun, guys. And yung chopping board niyan is mahaba talaga. No, hindi pwede yung maliit lang na chopping board. Okay? So, pag bone yung specimen, we use saw. Diba? Meron talaga, guys, meron talagang lagari sa histopath. No? Yung medyo maliit lang, hindi naman ganun kalakihan. Okay? Weighing scale. Tapos, ito yung ating tissue processing procedure, guys, na manual. Okay? So, saan mo magsisimula yan, guys? After ng fixation, since fixation is done, no, twice, diba, we have yung initial fixation na usually overnight. Tapos, we do the gross exam. After doing the gross exam, ilagay na naman siya sa fixation ulit for at least 1 hour. 1 hour per station. So, bali 2 hours yan siya. Dalawang container ng beaker yung nilalagyan natin yan. And then, proceed na siya sa dehydration if hindi need og decalcification. So, if hindi need ng decalcification, proceed na tayo sa dehydration. So, ito yung dehydration process natin, diba? So, dehydration process is usually, guys, ascending grade of alcohol yan siya, no? Pataas. 50, 70, 90, 100, 100, 100. So, 1 hour each. Diba? Dito palang daan, ilang hours na to? 4, 6 hours, no? For dehydration pa lang. After dehydration, we proceed into clearing, no? So, after clearing, 3 hours din yan siya, no? 3 station, 3 or 3 changes of clearing agent, no? Usually, silene ang ginagamit namin. So, 3 hours din yan dyan. After that, kay infiltration or impregnation, no? Usually, mga 3 hours din yan siya na infiltration. Or minsan, kung maganda talaga infiltrating agent natin, maganda talaga yung quality ng tissue specimen, 2 hours is enough. Then, i-proceed na siya sa embedding. Okay? So, parang ganito yung manual, guys. Imagine niyo 8 hours lang duty niyo pero ang tissue processing, ilang hours to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours, diba? So, that's why when we do manual, guys, minsan nag-overtime talaga kami sa histopath. Okay? So, next part would be yung ating automated tissue processors. Obviously, kung kaya naman sa laboratory, and nowadays, I think, majority ng histopath labs capable or have automated tissue processors. Okay, so this type of tissue processors, guys, is a Elliott bench type, no? As you can see, let's say for example, dito siya nag-start. So after that, ito yung canister na merong tissue cassette na isa-submerge dyan, up and down yan siya. And then after 1 hour, move na naman siya dito. Tuloy-tuloy na yan siya hanggang dito sa ating infiltrating media, di ba? That's why ang tawag niya doon FDCI. Okay? So aside from that, if hindi ganito yung inyong tissue processor, we have the fluid transfer, to which yung tissue cassette ang nakastay, tapos yung fluid lang ang pinapalitan, no? Pero ito siya, I think, ang fluid transfer sometimes hanggang hanggang clearing lang, no? Hindi na niya makaya yung wax kasi it should be maintained at a certain temperature, man good, no? But this can also be used, diba? Depende kung anong meron, guys, diba? Different lab has different instrument, diba? Different machines. Okay? So, next we have, ito siya yung parang kinukuha ni sir. Kung makita niyo yung canister natin. 'Di ba? After na to ng infiltration ata. So, kinuha na ni sir after infiltration. So, pwede na siya mag-start ng embedding. So, kung makita niyo yung canister natin, guys, no, yan. Minsan, yung pinakamaliit na yung canister na yan, it can hold up to 100 tissue cassettes. No, yan yung parang, minsan, minimum na yun na tissue cassettes, 100. Sipin mo, 100 lahat ka tissue cassettes i-embed mo. Diba? So, ito yung nasabi ko, up and down motion na siya, guys. Kasi, diba, as what we topic with decalcification, agitation helps, diba, with the rate ng pag-enhance ng mga processes, diba? So, yan siya. After that, kapag mag-ano ka na, after ng infiltration, you need to do embedding or blocking or casting and molding, diba? So, we use embedding center, guys, no? The temperature range, depende sa libro or reference na babasahin mo, but at this point, it is between 2 to 4 degrees Celsius higher than the melting point of the paraffin, no? Minsan, yung ibang libro, it states na 5 to 9, yung iba naman kay 6 to 10, okay? But kami sa laboratory, we always set it at 5 degrees higher than the melting point ng paraffin wax, okay? So, here we use the embedding center. Ito yung embedding center. Kung makikita ninyo, guys, walang cold plate na kasama. Ang cold plate, parang ganito lang din yung itsura niya. Pero, instead na mainit, malamig siya. No? Parang after mo embed, doon mo na ipatong yung mold mo. Okay? So, ito ang example ng embedding, guys. No? As you can see. Yan. So, nandiyan yung tissue sample. Lagyan niya ng wax. Patong yung tissue cassette. Then, overflowing amount of wax. Okay? Tapos, lagay niya dito sa temporary cold plate para maglamig konti. Then, proceed na talaga sa cold plate or freezer or refrigerator. Okay, so ito yung example ng embedding molds natin. So yung paper boat na nagawa ninyo or alam ninyong gawin, no, yun talagang ginagamit, guys. Pag walang mold, pag hindi available yung mold, guys. Okay, so dito yung lalagay sa freezer. After ma-freeze, kaya yan na. Kukunin mo na lang. Yan. O, yan ang end product niya. So as you can see, guys, no, malaman mo na tama na yung pagkalamig niya or enough na yung temperature because easily na lang siya tanggalin. Kapag pag sinubukan mo siyang tanggalin na merong if there's a resistance, no, ibig sabihin hindi pa enough. Okay? So freezers, the thermal requirement is negative 20 degrees Celsius obviously. Refrigerators naman are 4 degrees Celsius. Okay? So next, after mo ma-embed, you proceed with microtomy. So microtomy, guys, no, nowadays we use rotary microtome kasi hindi na masyado ganun kaganda gamitin yung ibang microtome, no? Yung iba gani obsolete na or yung iba nakakatakot gamitin. So this type of microtome is a rotary microtome, no? Meron siya mga main parts such as the block holder, ito, no? Knife holder, we have the pole and feed wheel mechanism, 'di ba? Yung parang kaya siya nagro-rotate, 'di ba? So yan siya, guys. Okay? So rotary microtome yan, na example yan siya ng rotary microtome. So after cutting, meron kang ribbon na ma-form. Ito, guys, ang tawag dito ribbon yan siya or tissue ribbons, 'di ba? Tissue ribbons yan siya. Okay? So after that, kailangan mo na siya i-fish out, 'di ba? So as a recap, we have the kinds of microtome. We have the rotary, no? Most commonly used. We have the cryostat for stat diagnosis, diba? It is a microtome kept inside a cold chamber, maintained at negative 5 degrees Celsius to negative 20 degrees Celsius. So kami sa laboratory namin, ang ginagamit namin na temp is negative 20 degrees Celsius kasi doon comfortable sila, doc. But they can always request naman kung gusto nila ng mas malamig pa, diba? So, ito, guys, I think napakita ko sa video sa inyo last time. We have yung racking microtome or yung ating Cambridge, diba? So, this is the simplest microtome, but as you can see, very nakakatakot because wala siyang knife guard, guys, no? What if clumsy ka, diba? So, masusugatan ka talaga. Okay? So, ito rin yung example ng sliding microtome. Pinakita ko rin ito last time. So, we have the freezing microtome, diba? napakaraming microtome but they are obsolete. So, tandaan natin, the most dangerous type of microtome is yung ating sliding microtome. Okay? So, itong nasa baba guys is an example of ultra thin microtome. Ayan. So, makita nyo, grabe kalit ng tissue ribbons niya. Alright. So, after sectioning, need mo na siya ilagay sa flotation bath. No? So, dapat ganito yung itsura niya. Sir, what if hindi maganda yung itsura ng ribbon namin? Okay lang yan guys. Basta, as long as the sample is there. No? Kasi hindi naman pagandahan ng, ano yan itsura ng wax. Pabonggahan tayo ng mukha ng sample natin. Kung intact ba, hindi ba siya yung nasira, 'di ba? So, hindi talaga mag-matter ang nawong sa wax guys. Kasi pag, after mo mag-fish out, ano mo man din yan siya, ilagay mo rin mo yan sa oven or yung sa slide dryers guys. So ma-melt gyapon ng paraffin wax, no? So dito, in order for the paraffin wax na dili siya mag-melt sa flotation bath, the temperature is set 5 to 10 degrees lower than the melting point of the paraffin. Okay? So next, ito yung fishing out technique, no? Kita nyo, i-break niya, then fish. Ayan. So, sa kanya, kung titignan nyo guys, ang ribbon sa slide niya, 'di ba? Hindi straight, pero yung sample nasa gitna. Pero yung actual na wax is tagilid. Okay lang 'yan, no? Basta nandoon yung sample sa gitna. Kung ako mag-fish kay straight talaga dapat 'yan, no? Wala OC manggugo guys, no? But this will do. Hindi naman siya ganun ka hindi naman siya maka-affect masyado. Basta nandoon lang yung ribbon yung sample sa gitna. Okay? So, after that, no, i-dry na siya. It should be 5 to 10 degrees higher than the melting point of the paraffin. Okay? Maintain dapat yan within 5 to 10 degrees, di ba? Para enough lang na ma-melt yung paraffin wax. Bakit, sir? Overheating causes uneven staining man good, guys. Or minsan maluto mo yung specimen talaga. May mga times na nangyari yan sa amin na nilagay namin sa oven yung sample, no? Tapos nakalimutan namin na nasa oven pa lang, so nasunog siya, 'di ba? So ginawa namin, pinatuloy pa rin namin siya stain despite knowing na nasunog siya. Checking if malaman ba ni doc, and then laman talaga ng pato na nasunog. And makasad doon guys kay 50 slides yun lahat, no? Kasi ang isang staining rack, ang laman niya, makaya niya na max is 50 slides man good. So 50 cassettes naman yung gikat na namin ulit. Parang ganun. Pero the next day na, kasi understanding naman si doc Okay, ito yung example ng slide dryer kung meron. Pero kung wala, oven is enough, no? Enough na yung oven. But it set talaga yung temperature. Okay? So next guys, we have yung ating staining, 'di ba? Staining, mounting and labeling. So sa staining guys, we have itong coupling jars, 'di ba? No? Particular ito iusin ng stain ito. Ito naman is hematoxylin. Okay? So yan siya, staining rack ito siya guys, no? Lalagay dito sa staining dish. So kung tamad kayo, bili na lang kayo nito. We have automated stainer. Ito yung mag-stain para sa inyo. So after that, the slides are set, siya na mismo maglipat talaga. So, kami, naga-timer talaga kami. Sa Histopath, guys, yan na may pinakamaraming timer sa lahat ng part ng laboratory. Okay? So, we have cover slip, no? It can be ganito kalaking, slide to slide, or yung maliit lang. Minsan may mga bilog pa. But kami, we really use ang size niya is 22 by 40 millimeters, no? Mas maganda kasi yun. Okay, so after that guys, 'di ba, since meron na tayong fixed na slide, yung maganda na, mounted na slide, we need to do tissue examination, or si doc na talaga nagabasa nito. Pero sometimes medtechs are the ones nag-read, depende na sa protocol ng laboratory or kung may tiwala sa inyo yung pathologist. So we use bright field or dark field, depende sa type ng specimen at tissue, no? So we also use phase contrast. Okay? So, kung titignan natin guys, this will be further explained to you when you have your immunosero. But i-explain ko lang sa inyo kadali itong fluorescence microscope. So, sa fluorescence microscope ng good guys, once na nakat ng tissue specimen, no, we do yung tinatawag na antibody bonding. So, yung antibody na of choice namin ipapadikit namin yan sa tissue cell kung meron siya yung antigen na hinahanap natin. So, let's say, for example, ang gusto natin makita is yung ating mga breast CD3 na lang, no? CD3 na antigen. So, kung presence ang CD3 na antigen sa cell, yung antibody natin, guys, will bind to that CD3. And that antibody, guys, may magbabind na naman dyan na secondary antibody. Na kung saan yung secondary antibody na nakabind sa antibody natin, na nakabind sa CD3, has fluorescent label. So, ngayon, under polarizing microscope, no, since fluorescent label yung secondary antibody natin or secondary antibody natin, makikita mo yun siya ngayon as a color green, no, kasi there will be a polarized light, no, na natatama. So pag merong polarized light tapos positive for that particular CD antigen yung ating specimen, makikita mo talaga siya under the microscope. Nga na siya, guys, no. So basically yung antibody mo may mag-bind pa na antibody. Parang ganun siya, no? So, antigen, antibody, complex na siya. Okay? So, let's proceed to the next slide. So, we have electron microscope, guys, no? So, this type of, again, microscope is, again, uses electron beam, diba? So, kailan to ginagamit yan ng electron microscope? Kapag ang ginagamit natin na microtome is yung ating ultra-thin microtome. So, grabe yan kaliit, guys, no? So, kung saan magkaroon ng mga electron beam na gina-fire. Tapos, to the smallest details, guys, kaya makikita mo talaga. 'Di ba? So, ganyang kagandang electron microscope. So, after ng microscopy, guys, no, usually kapag nabasa na ni Doc yung specimen natin, yung sample, yung pinag-gross natin, guys, is hindi natin tinatapon yan, guys, no? Hindi natin tinatapon. Paano natin siya i-store? It should be returned to the original leak-proof and airtight containers. If ang container na pinaglagyan is hindi siya maganda or hindi siya leak-proof, we really transfer it, guys, sa leak-proof and airtight containers, no? Sometimes, kung uso yung laboratory, we group chronologically for ease of finding. Pero minsan, guys, ginalagay lang namin yun sa isang malaking container, nandun na lahat, 'di ba? Tapos pero may cover dapat, 'di ba? So, after ma-cover doon kay it should be free from human and animal interference. Obviously, guys, no, weekly sa lab kay nag-pest control talaga yan sila. Okay? So, after that, kapag natapos na siya nag-stay sa laboratory, let's say puno na yung container nyo, mag-stay pa yun siya sa isang stock room. After sa stock room, kapag matapos na yung, depende sa protocol ng lab, no? Pero sa natrabahuan ko, mag-stay pa siya sa stock room ng 5 months before siya i-dispose, no? So, pag disposal, guys, no, it is placed in a biohazard bag. No? It can be incinerated, no? Or yung nililibing sa lupa. Pero, before siya i-incinerate or ilibing sa lupa, dinadasalan talaga yan sila. Kasi who knows, di ba? Malay nyo, yung sample na gi-cross-exam na gi-process nyo sa histopath kay namatay na yung patient, no? So, dinadasalan talaga yun sila para hindi sila kanang mag-ungo-ungo sa laboratory. Okay? So, when say ungo, guys, kanang mag-multo ba? Hindi niya multuhin yung lab. Okay? So, we also have returning of specimen to the patient. So, di ba, as what I've said before, the patients have the right to request for a return ng specimen. Lalo na kung makita nila sa final result na RS, di ba, or representative section na yung kinuha natin. But however, this should be, di ba, under or according to the hospital guidelines, di ba? So, kung yung hospital meron silang guidelines na hindi pwede mag-return ng specimen sa patient once na ganito na yung months na lapse. So, they really have the authority. Kasi once na you submit your specimen to the lab, ibig sabihin, hindi mo na pag-may-ari yun. Pag-may-ari na yun siya ng hospital. Diba? Pero yung guidelines ng hospital nyo or ng laboratory nyo, kaya pwede naman siya ibalik. Okay lang yan. Wala mang problema. Okay? So, we should ensure proper documentation. That's why sa laboratory, importante ang logbook. Kahit na digital age na tayo ngayon, may logbook pa rin sa laboratory. Kaya nga ako sa inyo, my students, I always gusto ko na maging maganda yung penmanship ninyo. Kaya kung ngayon pa lang, guys, prelim, pangit na yung sulat ninyo, please, gandahan ninyo, guys, kasi kayo rin may hirapan, puhon, 'di ba? So, pag limbs and fetuses, guys, no, tawag yan, can be returned, no? Depende kung anong reason. And basta pasok lang sa guidelines talaga, 'di ba? So, limbs and fetuses, religious purposes, 'di ba? Meron kasi iba na ginakuha talaga nila. Then, we have bullets, breast implants, and foreign bodies, no, which are evidences for crime, no? Kapag mga ganun, guys, it should be released to the police authorities with proper documented chain of custody or yung COC form. So, yung chain of custody, para siyang form na kung saan i-fill upan ninyo kung sino yung mga nag-handle talaga nung mga specimen na yun. 'Di ba? So, dapat kompleto yan siya, guys. 'Di ba? So, I think this is, again, last slide na ata to ngayon. So, we have the storage, 'di ba? It should be in a cool, dry place, no? Free from vermin, arranged according to year, surgical pathology, accession number for easy retrieval. So, importante yung accession number, guys, 'di ba? Kapag 2022, for 2022 lang talaga yun siya na cabinet or file cabinet na kalagay. Pag 2023 lang talaga. Or minsan, ako, personally, kami, gina-file namin siya according sa accession number. For example, from 2022, accession 1 to 100. Ito lang sila lahat. Then, 101 to 200. Parang ganun good. Then, pagka 20. Tuloy kasi, meron mga good proper storage, guys, kung hanggang kailan pwede ma-store yung mga tissue cassettes, slides sa laboratory, no? So, hindi pa pala ito yung last, no? Second to the last ata to. So, we have disposal, guys, no? Pag slides, kaya sa sharp containers. Pag paraffin blocks, kaya ginatapon namin siya sa pathologic waste bags. Slides may be used by resident pathologists and med students, no? May be used for further researches, diba? Minsan, gina-donate namin sila for research purposes. And we always maintain patient confidentiality. That's why importante ang accession number. Kasi kahit accession number lang yan, mabigay mo sa, let's say, for research purposes, kung hindi nila alam kanino yung accession number, hindi talaga nila ma-identify sino nga patient yun. So, we also have request for blocks and slide, diba? Kapag magpa-second opinion yung patient, usually, kapag hindi na available yung specimen niya, lalo na kung totally submitted na yung, let's say, in certain number of blocks yung specimen or naubos na gamit during cross-examination, pwede naman magpa-second opinion. So, anong gagawin nila? So, mangyayari dyan, since may blocks na, diba? Yung gi-embed mo, tapos may slides na, yung gi-stain mo, pwede yun siya mag-view ng another institution or another laboratory. So, dapat meron kayong available na logbook. Tapos, yung slide are transported with damage and breakage prevention. So, usually kami, ginabalot namin siya sa yung magandang lalagyan ng slide. Yung parang ganito. Yan. Tapos, deposit and charging for new slides are customary practices. Yung minsan kapag magkuha ng slides or gamit yung, for example, halimbawa si patient 1 gusto niya magpa-retrieve ng blocks and slides niya sa amin kasi gusto niya magpa-second opinion sa ibang laboratory. So ngayon, sasabihin namin sa kanya na, okay ma'am, sir, yung slides mo dito kay 10 sila lahat. So it's up to the patient or minsan talaga gina-require na papalitan niya yung 10 slides na nakuha nila. Okay? So, preserve the original state of the material. Once na na-release na yun, guys, ginapa-fill up namin sila sa logbook to know na nakuha na talaga nila. Kasi kung hindi nila kunin sa laboratory yung blocks ng slides nila, mag-stay man good yan for a certain number of years, no? So, let's see gano'ng katagal. Ito yun siya, guys, yung nasabi ko. So, recommended minimum retention time of records, reports, specimens, slides, and tissue cell blocks. Okay, so ito yung records, ito yung storage. So, for the request, accession log, maintenance, and QC log sa chem, ito siya, guys, no? Blood bank quality control, blood bank employee signature, patient records, donor and recipient records. Records are indefinitely permanent deferred donors, forensic accession log, diba? Meron silang corresponding storage time, no? For this, we have 2 years. For this, we have 5 years. For this, we have 10 years. And for this, we have indefinitely. Okay? So, for the reports, no, yung results ng mga laboratory, guys, no, pag clinical patho, di ba, alam naman ninyo anong under sa clinical patho. We have CC, HEMA, BACTE, di ba, clean mic, no, 2 years na siya sa laboratory. After 2 years, pwede siya itapon. Kapag surgical patho na result, 10 years yan siya, no, that's why sabi ko, matagal talaga sila gina-store. So, we have cytogenetic naman yung final reports and photographs, no, 20 years. Ang forensic autopsy, guys, lalo na yung mga involved sa crime scene na mga autopsy result or reports, indefinitely and hindi talaga yung tinatapon, no? Kasi minsan good guys, meron yung mga case ng cold case na, tapos i-open ulit. Yan. So, kinukuha yun nila sa histopath. Okay? So, ito yung example naman sa other specimen, no? Pero ang gusto kong bigyan nyo ng pansin dito is yung sa histopath natin. So, sa histopath, we have surgical tissue, 10 years, no? We have cytogenetic slides, 3 years. We have cytology slides, no? Especially yung example nito, pap smear, 5 years. No, we have tissue, bone marrow fine needle aspirate slides, we have 10 years. Paraffin blocks, no, 10 years. Forensic blocks and slides, indefinitely. Okay, so itong paraffin blocks na 10 years, guys, usually, yung last ko na nagstay good sa hospital was way back 2020. Okay, so 2020, ang pinakalas namin tinapon na batch is from 2009. No? Yung mga 2009 na mga blocks or tissue blocks kay tinapon na namin. Kasi lampas naman siya sa 10 years, no? Or pasok naman sa 10 years na storage time. Okay, so tinapon na namin sila kaya lampas na ng 10 years. Okay, so you need to memorize all of this, guys, kasi whether you like it or not, it may or may not come sa exam quizzes natin, 'di ba? Or hindi man sila maglabas ngayon sa mga quiz natin sa board exam, no? Lalabas talaga to sa board exam. Natanong to sa boards namin. Ang natanong sa amin sa boards itong BB donor recipient blood, no? Gano'ng katagal ang storage niya. Okay, so I hope you are all doing fine pa din. So my references for this topic is ito sila. So please do read, no, and comprehend all the topics that we discuss all throughout prelims. Okay, so I wish you all the best, guys. So good luck in whatever things you do, no? So bye-bye.